egg drop from space. Wait, this sounds.
And this is an egg.
Wait, is this? Wait, he does so many cool things. Your warrior, thanks for 16 months.
This is space,
egg.
And this is an egg, moments before I attempted the world's highest egg drop. Now in an egg drop competition, in case you never had the chance to do it yourself in school, the goal is to build a contraption that can protect a raw egg from breaking when dropped from the tallest height possible.
Cool.
So my original plan was to drop an egg in a contraption I built from the world's tallest building. But humans are always building taller buildings, so if I really wanted to future-proof this record, I realized I would need to go all the way to the top and straight to outer space. And when I started on this journey 3 years ago, I knew if I could draw on my experience of landing stuff on other planets, I would be guaranteed the record.
We did this
but what
on
I didn't know
Top
is
Streamer.
this would be the most physically, financially, and mentally draining video I would ever attempt. But first, let me just explain what I was thinking. The plan was to clamp an egg to the front of a rocket, then attach that rocket to a weather balloon and take it up to space. Once there, the weather balloon would release it, and just by using gravity only, the rocket would eventually accelerate past Mach 1, breaking the speed of sound, and then it would autonomously adjust the 4 fins on the back to steer.
Are you allowed to do that? Like, can you just send a rocket to space?
Ground, it would release the egg, which would free fall onto a mattress that we'd placed on the ground. And that all seemed pretty straightforward. So like any good engineer,
stop him? I don't know. The government.
Steps, starting first with calculating
no one finds
the terminal
out.
velocity of an egg. And by terminal velocity, I mean that any object, including humans, have a maximum speed
would the egg
fall
cook
once the force of Earth pulling you
from
towards
the heat?
It balances with the pushback force from bumping into more and more air molecules as you start to fall faster.
And the pressure.
For humans, that max speed is about 120 miles per hour, and after doing some simple math for an egg, it tops out at 75 miles per hour. So to make sure the egg wouldn't break if we dropped it onto a mattress at its terminal velocity, we ran our first test. And since we couldn't find a tall enough building whose lawyers would agree to let us hurl an egg off the side and onto a mattress, we had to improvise a bit.
Oh!
83.
Yes! That's the egg? No cracks. So our mattress will protect an egg even if it's traveling faster than its terminal velocity. It's a good start.
Awesome.
The next step in our DIY space program was to head back to my friends in the small farming town of Gridley, California, which is the place where we broke the elephant toothpaste world record, where the plan was to set out a target mattress for the egg to land on in the middle of a field, with a little bit of margin built in just in case.
All right, so we've got the smoke charge back here so that as we're like coming down from the sky, we want to be able to pick it out. This is the computer, here's the fins.
This, by the way, is Joe, and he has a fascinating channel called BPS Space. And what makes him especially cool is he didn't go to school for any kind of engineering degree. He's all self-taught and recently even landed a launched rocket SpaceX style after 7 years of trying. Joe was in charge of tracking and guiding the rocket to the mattress using these movable tail fins, whereas I was in charge of the payload. In other words, how we would keep the egg from freezing on the way up in a little oven with heaters which would break away before we dropped, along with the mechanisms to release the egg itself. Release the egg! And the purpose of this first trip to Gridley was a flight characterization test. Basically, before we spent all the time and money taking the balloon all the way up to space, we were here just to do a low altitude test at 10,000 feet, just to prove to
only
ourselves
10,000
we could steer
feet.
the rocket using the fins. We're setting all sorts of world records out here. World's largest mattress, fastest egg, tallest egg drop. What could possibly go wrong? Besides like 4,000 things. And so with everything more or less in place and ready to go, all we needed now was an official egg, which thankfully Gridley has in abundance. I'm sorry.
No, those are some cute chickens. Why are they fluffy and fat?
Okay. Oh, no. Hey.
Oh, they don't like that.
Precious egg. In the history of our universe, this is the first chicken that's ever laid an egg that will go faster than the speed of sound. Supersonic. Mach 1.
Yo, Beanie, 8 months.
Hey, I'm sorry, I'm leaving.
What? The chicken must be so
The next
honored.
morning we got up at 4 a.m. when the winds would be the most calm to run through all our final pre-launch preparations. Loading up our lovely egg. Including the last-minute decision to add a metallic streamer to the back of the rocket to make it easier to visually track.
We've got redundancy all over the place here. We've got redundant leads,
Hell
redundant
yeah.
igniters. Mark has 2 servos on the fairing. No dumb failures.
And that's exactly when we had our first dumb failure.
Buy a chicken instead of a cat?
The GPS is mad.
We
No.
scrubbed the launch.
Well,
We were just walking back.
but then I could have unlimited eggs if I got a chicken.
The launch meant we
I could eat an egg every
had to release
day.
all the helium out of the balloon, which is an opportunity I'm not gonna let just pass on by.
Hello, wow, that's so
And back at home base, we ran some tests that confirmed our hypothesis that since the GPS unit was right at the back of the rocket,
It's
the
not gonna lay an
last-minute
egg
addition of
every
the
day.
metallic streamer was interfering with
Wait,
the
they
GPS
don't lay
signal.
eggs every
and that messed
day?
up the rocket's math in calculating its speed, so it thought it
Yeah,
was
why
time
do they
to
bring
release the
one egg?
So early the next morning, we were back at it with a few modifications.
Okay, if
the
you
most
have one
important being
chicken,
swapping the metallic
how many
tracking
eggs do
streamer
you get a
with one
week?
made from plastic.
Good news is there's hardly any wind today. Bad news is
Yo,
about
Rezzy,
20
thanks for the
degrees
5
colder,
months.
which means our mattresses are kind of frozen.
0. Wait, a
We
week?
pushed forward.
Don't trip.
On their prime, it
As I
does.
very
Oh, so you need
carefully
a
delivered the rockets
prime
to the new
chicken.
balloon launch site.
Send it.
Deathem's 25 months.
We'll send it. It's happening. Should we see it? Oh yeah, I see it.
Chicken egg balloon.
Oh, there it is.
And while the whole thing looked really cool,
So we might be in trouble.
we quickly realized the balloon was rising at a slower rate than we anticipated,
We're already south and we're only halfway up.
which totally threw off the predicted trajectory. And so
Uh-oh.
after a few more minutes, we decided to manually drop the rocket because we were already way too far off course for the rocket to make up the lateral distance to the mattress using just the fins and gravity.
3, 2, 1, clicked.
So it's only a 5,000-foot egg drop. Lame.
Oh boy, that's not good.
And that's when we encountered the second problem of the day, as the fins actively forced the rocket into an uncontrolled death spiral.
Altitude is 1,400, coming down fast.
It's spinning out of control. Oh. But did the egg survive?
Check the mattress just in case.
And since we had the GPS coordinates of the rocket, we headed out to track it down.
The real question is, what's the status of the egg?
Mark, I think I might have some bad news for you.
At which point we stumbled on an entire field of sitting birds, which is another opportunity I'm not gonna let just pass.
Holy
on by.
shit. Wow, asshole scared off all the birds.
No egg.
The egg did release. The fact that this is out means the egg did come out, so that's good.
But despite that silver lining, the movable fins seemed to be actually forcing the rocket into that tailspin, which was surprising because Joe had definitely run through a lot of analysis and testing before coming here. So after conducting a thorough review of the footage and firmware, he was able to locate and fix a single rogue negative sign in the code that seemed to be causing all the control issues, which meant we were ready to give this one final try. We had run out of spare parts and spare
Hell
weather
yeah.
balloons, so regardless of outcome, this would be the final attempt. If we couldn't land the egg on a mattress from 10,000 feet up, we wouldn't have any hope of pulling it off, coming all the way down from space.
Phenomenal! That's nerdy space talk for everything is exactly as expected. I'm standing in the middle of the world's largest mattress, where hopefully the egg will be landing in like 45 minutes.
Let's
Otherwise, we're
go.
pivoting. And my new video is world's largest mattress.
So I'm arming the rocket right now.
The last step. All right, old girl, you're in for a ride. 3, 2, 1, let her ride, baby.
Looking good
There it
so
goes.
far. We're at 500 meters.
Now, in order for the balloon to hit the target mattress, for each launch, we'd started from different spots around Gridley, which raises an interesting question maybe you've wondered
PR
yourself.
56
How do
months.
big balloons
Hello.
like hot air balloons steer themselves? Or I guess even just know where they're going to land? And the answer is, computers know the wind direction and speed at every height as you go up. So on a given day, if these are the predicted wind directions and speeds, we would need to launch here to be directly above the mattress when we got to 10,000 feet. But how we know all this information is the fascinating part, because every day it's someone's job to launch 2 balloons like this into the sky at noon and midnight London time. But this is done in over 1,000 locations all around the world at those same 2 exact moments. And these balloons all have something called a radiosonde attached to them that measures things like altitude, pressure, temperature, and wind, and then they transmit the information
balloon.
back to the ground stations, which gets fed into supercomputers, and that's the reason weather and wind predictions can be so accurate. So 2,000 of these
fancy.
massive weather balloons go up every day and then eventually pop and just land somewhere. And since they're transmitting a signal, some folks make a hobby out of just trying to track them down.
How close are we to the drop point?
Balloon release.
Balloon release. That's it.
And this time we were releasing right in the target drop zone, which was good news on one hand, but it raised some new challenges on the other.
Where is it?
Grab a chair!
Can't see shit.
400.
Grab a chair!
300.
You see something?
Altitude 98 meters.
I think we're down.
Everyone okay? That was exhilarating.
So we were
Where'd
much
the egg
closer this
go?
time, and we even managed to steer the rocket in the right direction just slightly.
We found
Yo,
it.
Giovanni, 6 months.
Egg?
No egg.
No egg?
Wait a minute.
It's the egg!
The egg.
Oh, did it
He
crack?
didn't make it.
I mean, it's not cracked.
So after 3 failed attempts,
But
we
they
still
know
seemed
where it
pretty
is at
far
least.
off from where we needed to be, which meant it was time for the ultimate phone a friend with my buddy Adam Steltzner, who you might recognize as this guy from when we landed Curiosity on Mars.
Touchdown confirmed. Proceed.
He has a
Wow.
PhD from Caltech, and he's also the chief engineer for Perseverance and Mars Sample Return. And so after explaining to Adam what we were trying to do, he immediately
Look at his
spotted
face.
a fatal flaw in our brilliant plan.
And you're doing terminal guidance to something about the size of a house. How are you going to do that? How do you do that? I mean, I know how you physically do that. How do you not get busted by the FAA?
In other words, we were basically attempting to make a precision-guided missile.
Dude, there are thousands of
See,
people
that's what I was
who've done this before,
saying.
And they are sworn by federal law not to say a single word to you.
And to be fair, he raised a good point. The people who could help us actually can't, and even if we figured it out ourselves, the ethics of just slapping that how-to video up on YouTube are questionable at best. And so after a fruitful discussion with Adam,
But we release at about the height, and then we do a lobbing. The thing you start to worry about is heating. You might want to start with a 2-stage thing.
we decided to pivot, and instead of a precision-guided egg landing on a mattress in a small town, we would set our sights on a much more general egg landing target by heading out to the desert. But as part of the pivot, we completely scrapped our old design and spent a couple months designing and building a new system that borrowed heavily from the Curiosity landing, because we figured if it could safely put a rover on Mars, it could safely land an egg on Earth. So we would still go to space on a weather balloon, but this time the rocket would have fins that didn't move, and it would be 3 times as long and 4 times as heavy to guarantee we would get the egg to supersonic speeds on the way down. Then just like NASA separates the
shit.
cruise stage in the upper atmosphere and then uses aerobraking to
Yeah,
dissipate
isn't
a
it
bunch
still a
of the energy
missile?
and speed, we would separate from the back half
It's just
of the
not a
rocket about
precision
halfway
missile.
down after we'd already broken the sound barrier, and because this system now weighed much less, it would naturally aerobrake and reduce its speed to the new lowered terminal velocity. Then on Mars, the next step is the parachute deploy, followed by the heat shield separation, and we would follow in kind by launching our own parachute and then release our own nose cone, which would then expose our set of cushioning airbags, as you can see here, which we borrowed from the Spirit and Opportunity landings. It was intentionally ambitious and extremely complicated, but after a couple months of complete redesigning and building, we found ourselves in the desert feeling cautiously optimistic. And that
Holy
was
shit.
due in part to our lucky orange parachute, because when I left NASA, my friends gave me this rectangular piece of nylon. And for scale, that's the exact same rectangle here that's part of the parachute the Curiosity rover used to land. So that piece of
Whoa.
parachute is actually one of the 80
That's so
rectangles you
cool.
see here as they were running the final tests in the world's largest wind tunnel. And so it only felt fitting
He does some
that
crazy
after some
shit.
scribing, a bit of cutting, and a little sewing, it had nobly repurposed itself.
Imagine
for the
fucking that up,
Mage.
though.
So as the sun went down, back at the hotel,
The
we worked
same
late
fabric.
into the night on final preparations. This was an idea and a passion project 3 years in the making. And it took a staggering amount of work even to get us to this point. We had thought
3
and
years,
prepared
holy
for
shit.
so many things that could go wrong, and while I was feeling optimistic, I knew at the end of the day, it was the laws of physics that would ultimately determine our fate. So early the next morning, the crew in charge of the balloon got to the launch site to start filling it up. And this balloon looks a little different than the others because it's a zero pressure weather balloon. The advantage these have over a typical weather balloon is they can go higher up into space, carry more weight, and they're open on the bottom, which means they equalize to the pressure and it's impossible for them to pop. So when you want it to come
Looks
down, you
weird.
send a signal that will pull down on a string that's sewn into the side of the balloon, and it opens like a zipper and self-destructs. The downside is they're incredibly lightweight and so thin and delicate, you have to be really careful and touch it with gloves. And they were about an hour into filling it with the 4 massive tanks of helium we had on hand when we made a gut-wrenching discovery.
Oh no.
Hey dude, I got bad news. We have to scrub. Start taking the helium out of the balloon.
No! Wait, what went wrong?
They had some issues that I guess they can't resolve by today. So we're sucking out the helium from the balloon and trying for another day. So.
Oh man. Back to the drawing board.
No.
The egg will not fly today.
What are you talking about? Are you serious?
Now for context, Joe was in charge of this part of the rocket and me and my team were in charge of all of this. And while we'd each tested our individual systems ad nauseum, it wasn't until that morning that we were able to test the integration of the two systems together. And when we did, it became immediately clear to me I had made a critical oversight.
Oh
So,
no.
tension compression, this is great. It's holding on to that thing fantastically. The problem is, this is so long and heavy, as soon as it wiggles, it's going to want to bend. Great in tension compression, but this happening at Mach 2 is...
That's not gonna work out.
There's
Dang it,
no other
Mark.
balloons in the world of this size that we can get access to. This was the only one for like another month. We're trying to save this one so we can hopefully reuse it, but any slight little damage
Yo,
will
Ginger
touch it in
Hippo,
the wrong
5 months.
spot. And now that's an imperfection that may actually be a failure point for a future mission.
Big booms.
And this was an absolute low point for me. The integration of two independent systems is such a classic failure point in engineering. I was crushed I had missed this. And financial concerns aside, I felt like I had just let everyone down. Not just my team and the rest of the crew helping out, but all the other folks, some of whom drove 6 hours to come out and watch as well.
6
But that's the thing with
hours!
failures. They can sting like crazy, but it's really
That's just
a
how it goes, I
process
guess.
to learn one more way not to do a thing. And so even as I sat there feeling pretty bad, like any good engineer, I was already coming up with a list of all the things we were going to fix to get back out here and try this dang thing one more time. And this principle of resiliency
give
is
up.
something I think can be learned. In fact, I believe this so much, I started a toy company
hashtag
called Punch
ad.
Labs with the express goal of helping kids think like an engineer. So with the Bill Box,
It's a
not
good
only
ad,
do you get a
though.
super fun toy that you put
That was a
together,
good
but you
segue
do it
though.
alongside
From like,
me.
oh, it was
I
our
teach you all
greatest
the juicy
defeat.
physics
I was
of
so
how it
sad,
works.
but
We're right there
it
in the
could be
trenches,
better if you
building
buy
and
Crunch
succeeding
Labs.
together so the
Yo, Soggy
principles
Crave,
really
thanks for the
sink
prime.
in. So if you're a kid and you're looking for something to put at the top of your Christmas wish list, or you want to gift it to someone else so you can be the household hero, just head to crunchlabs.com or use the link in
Any
the video
kids?
description. Now, as far as my plan to bounce
Girl, you
back
have
from
a
my
Star
own
Forge
failure,
ad
we
on
did
his
4
content.
things to really get serious
Oh, yeah.
and stack the dice in our favor for the final launch. First of all, we fixed the connection
Your driver
point
thanks
with
for
more
5
of a
months.
sheath design that could handle the bending moment. And then at the right altitude, it would autonomously separate the two halves with a black powder charge. Second, we ran some vacuum and temperature tests on a raw egg. There's no air pressure and it's really, really cold in space. So if you don't do something to protect the egg for the 2 hours it takes the balloon to get up to space, it will freeze and crack the egg every time. So we tested some heaters in our egg chamber and proved that they keep the egg warm enough. Third, we built redundancy into our system. When NASA sends something to Mars, they can't go there to fix it, so it just has to work. And for that reason, a lot of critical systems have backups. Even the part of my own hardware and Curiosity that accepted a dirt sample from the arm into the belly of the rover had 2 doors that opened to the exact same place in case one of the doors ever stopped working. In our case, redundancy meant making a 2-foot wide custom beach ball that we would stuff with a second egg surrounded in packing
much
materials
thought
with a
goes into it.
20-foot streamer on the
Major
back. We would
flex,
just
yeah,
drop it.
actually.
It would be dead simple.
I mean, I would
no
flex
parachutes
too
to
if
deploy,
that were
no
me.
autonomous timing sequences.
I only have like
and no
2
fancy
things I
mechanisms.
can
This would be
recycle
our
to flex
redundant,
with.
Yet I would argue kind of boring, second chance opportunity to land a safe egg. And fourth and finally, we went to a local crane yard to test both our solutions at their respective terminal velocities, starting first with the beach ball.
What's the second one? When the shack thing.
And after that, we tested the
I guess I
final
haven't
landing
recycled that one in a while.
configuration of the rocket.
Oh shit, double lift 2. I have 3.
By the way, the actual rover parachute held perfectly. Mwah!
And so after all that, we made the 6-hour trek
You
back
don't really
to the
mention
desert
that one?
for what I
Oh.
was really, really hoping would be the last time.
Do I have to flex
guys.
it now?
After 4 failed attempts, we had learned so much. which left me feeling cautiously optimistic. And right out of the gate, we got 2 bits of really good news. The first relates to that super delicate zero pressure balloon we had to reuse from the last launch because there was no possible way to get a replacement.
Yeah, I was Shaq approved. I met Shaq at like this like Bud Light sponsored thing, like how many years ago? It would have been like 7 or 8 years ago now. And he was talking to my ex and he was like, "Is this your girlfriend?" And he was like, "Yeah." He was like, and he said that I was cute, and I was like, "Oh, I'm Shaq approved."
Just barely touching the balloon leaves it stressed,
and now I can enjoy the
so
shakaroni pizza even more.
I was obsessively checking the fish scale reading that would give us the verdict.
The force reading is 37.6 kilograms of buoyancy force pulling this up. Importantly, it's not changing. If it were changing and going down, that means we would have a leak. But it's holding steady.
Yeah, I mean, he's just really nice. I'm sure he says things like that to a lot of people, but still, I'm still Shaq approved.
Al Chen had arrived. You might recognize Al as the other guy here with Adam, and he's the one who actually said this.
Touchdown confirmed. We're safe on Mars.
If we were successful, he'd be the one to make the official call. And so after all the requisite last-minute preparations and 3 long years,
here we go, girl.
Yo,
it was
Moons,
finally
thanks for 2
time for
months.
liftoff.
Ready? 3, 2, 1. You're free!
Whoa, it's going! Finally!
And everything was looking good. The balloon ascent rate was just what we predicted, and that meant we for sure didn't have a leak, and things were finally breaking.
So good.
Is that how it's supposed to look?
And it takes about 2 hours to get
I
all
love
the way
those
up to
wide
space.
emotes.
Whoa. So once the balloon hit 30,000 feet, we decided to hop in the car so we could drive over to the predicted landing spot about 45 minutes away.
Hell yeah.
So far, it's all systems nominal. Balloons in the air, it's ascending at the right rate.
Wait,
We've
that's
passed
so
some critical
cool.
threshold points, and we're still in the game.
Wait, I want to send a balloon to space.
And we eventually started outrunning the balloon in the car,
look at
so
the
we pulled
camera.
over for a bit as we reached an important altitude milestone of
If you could
100,000
send
feet.
one person to space, who would you send?
That's 19 miles up.
Just
and
send them up
2.5
there, they're
times
never
higher
coming
than
back.
the typical commercial plane
Don't
flights.
say
And
me.
because the balloon expanded so large as it
not
rises, we
me.
realized we could actually even spot it from the ground, which was awesome.
Yeah, no, I see it, yeah.
Dude, that's totally it.
What wasn't awesome
Get
was
out
that
of here,
moments later,
no.
Joe, while looking through the binoculars, made this gut-wrenching observation.
It looked really big and then it looked really small.
You saw it small?
Yeah, it like seems to be smaller.
But it's just weird that it would just completely disappear.
Which was followed by a devastating call from the balloon tracking
Oh
team.
no!
It dropped within the last 2 minutes. Yeah. That's 30,000 feet over the last however, so it's just popped.
But these don't pop.
Wait, why did it
There's
pop?
Zero pressure.
And that's true.
Yo,
They
Luke,
don't
6
pop.
months.
But unbeknownst to us,
And,
while we were
Jay
looking at it from the
Briscoe,
ground,
6
the
months.
rocket and beach ball had been
Thank you,
spinning
thank you.
around and around relative to the balloon for about 10 minutes. This meant the cord that attaches to the string that self-destructs the balloon was getting wrapped around tighter and tighter until it was so tight, it pulled down on the balloon string that is designed to essentially unzip and destroy itself.
Oh no!
And so before we even had the chance to
spun
release the
too
rocket
much.
and beach ball from the balloon, it all started coming down in one big tangled heap at 150 miles per hour, which is way faster than the eggs could survive.
Oh, well, let's start driving.
And as we drove over, all I could think about was how our fate would rest solely in the hands of the redundant systems we'd put in place.
Wait, yeah, if the egg
think
survives, they
it's
technically
probably
succeeded.
About 2 miles up that way.
This was our Apollo 13 moment. If our payload could autonomously jettison itself from the tangled rocket balloon mess at 20,000 feet, then it would be able to deploy our lucky orange parachute and land the eggs safely on its airbags. And as we parked, we knew what was done was done. There was nothing left to do but go on a hunt to find the wreckage and reveal our fate.
Where is
I
the
see
egg?
something orange. That looks like a rover parachute. Okay.
Woo!
We've got a thing.
And seeing the payload all by itself was a huge deal,
The
because
payload.
it meant it had actually autonomously ejected itself from the mangled weather balloon mess at 20,000 feet. And later when we checked the footage, this is exactly what it confirmed. And while that was incredible news, I knew by this point not to get my hopes up.
So let's look through the window. A little bit of dirt. You see.
Pretty good. Definitely touchdown, but
Touchdown confirmed. Whether or not we're safe on Earth is TBD, right?
let's check it out to be sure.
Oh man.
Egg?
Touchdown confirmed. We're safe on
The
Earth.
egg made it! So it worked!
Hot egg.
The balloon just didn't go as high
In
as they
space, and
wanted.
now it's on Earth.
It's
and
perfect.
It's not broken.
After that, we tracked down the beach ball, which as far as I was concerned, was just extra credit at this point.
This is the backup, the simple solution, the true engineer solution here.
Wait, another egg? The backup egg survived too!
Confirmed. Look at that. We're safe on Earth.
We are safe on Earth.
Wow.
2 for 2, baby. 2 for 2.
Dang, they got both!
And as we walked away with 2 uncracked eggs in hand, I was reminded that in life, things rarely unfold how we think they will, but by learning from your failures, coupled with a bit of tenacity, us humans can accomplish a feat as incredible as the world's smartest Martian
Yeah, now he
robot,
needs to make
or
an
as
omelet with the
ridiculous
space
as
eggs.
the world's tallest egg drop.
Eat them! Eat them,
You know
Mark!
what would be cool? Because
No!
like, I hope you learned something by watching
Eat
this
them!
video. But how much more would you have learned if you were out there in the desert with me, helping to like troubleshoot and put the rocket
Oh
together?
man. Okay,
Well, I got great
I'm gonna go
news
pee
for
real
you,
quick. I will
'cause
be
got
right
the
back.
next best thing.
And then I'll watch a
And it's
couple
called
more
the
things, and
Crunch
then I
Labs
will
Build
start
Box.
my Dark
It's a
Souls
toy
2
that gets delivered right to
playthrough.
your doorstep every month,
Right
and then
back.
we build it together while I teach you all the juicy physics that make it work. You're basically unlocking your own personal Mark Rober video every month, where you learn a new engineering principle that will have you not just building like an engineer, but more importantly, thinking like an engineer. So you develop that resilience and those problem-solving skills. And by the way, don't go sleeping on just how cool the toys we'll be building together actually are. Like this insanely accurate rapid-fire disc launcher, or this linkage-powered drawing machine, or this Rube Goldberg-style catapult launcher that will leave you feeling like you just landed your own dang egg from space. And I should mention that Crunch Labs is a real place. It's where we design all these boxes, and it's got a tennis ball cannon, and the world's longest Hot Wheels track, and a foam pit, and a bunch of other cool inventions. And each month when you open your box that comes in the mail, you have a chance to find the platinum ticket. And if your box has it, that means you and your family get to come out and visit me and my team for a day, and we'll build some cool stuff together. So if you want to embark on this year-long journey with me and make a sad Christmas tree like this a happy Christmas tree, just go to crunchlabs.com or use the link in the video description, where we're giving away 2 months free as a holiday special.
Hello, I'm back. Sorry. I am back. What is up? Hello, hello. What's good?